Hello everyone, my name is Yari and this is a channel about the freelance photo and video production. In my previous video we spoke about my new purchase, the brand new DJI Mini 3 Pro. We unpacked it and spoke about some cool new features it received. What we didn't discuss much previous time is the photo and video quality, and since it's a very important and deep topic, I would like to speak about it in this separate video. There is plenty of shooting settings for you. You can shoot at 12 megapixel or 48 megapixel photos. You can shoot at the various frame rates like 24, 25, 30 fps, 50 fps, 60 fps, 120 fps. You can shoot in HQ mode or a normal one. You can shoot at a regular 8-bit color profile or Disney-like 10-bit. So which of the settings listed above are the best to choose whenever it comes to the quality shooting, and are they sufficient enough to call the DJI Mini 3 Pro a true professional drone? Let's have a closer look. But a quick reminder, if you are not subscribed yet for this channel, please smash this subscribe button if you're interested in a topic of freelance photo and video production. And if you have any topic related questions, please feel free to ask them in a comment section below. Alright, let's start from the photos department. If you are shooting in a JPEG, on the first glimpse 12 megapixel looks sharper than 48 megapixels, which sounds ridiculous, right? But whenever you're zooming in, you can clearly see slightly more details in a 48 megapixels, which is no surprise. However, if you go just to take a quick shot and publish it straight away, then go for the JPEG 12 megapixels, you cannot go wrong. It looks amazing right from the drone. It requires a minimal editing and it will look great on your social feed. But keep in mind that you are not able to crop this photo so much as 48 megapixels. If you would like to get the highest quality and flexibility of the shot, you have to use a RAW format, and in this format, situation slightly changes. Funny thing, I started writing this script before the latest update from DJI, and back there, whenever you're shooting 12 megapixel RAW image, you could see that exposure is much lower than in 48 megapixels, and it happened because of ridiculous amount of vignetting. In 48 megapixels you didn't have such a problem. I'm not sure from where it came up, but apparently it was a software issue, since with the last update it was fixed. Now situation actually is quite opposite. Now the 12 megapixel shot looks a little bit brighter and has slightly green tint in it. I'm not sure why again it's happening. And it's not that noticeable whenever you look at two RAW pictures, but whenever I edited the 48 megapixel shot and I synchronized in Lightroom all the settings with the 12 megapixel shot, I could clearly see the color difference in between these two. But whenever you're shooting at night, the 12 megapixel photos in RAW format again getting this. I wouldn't say a terrible vignetting, but still quite noticeable. But what is surprising, whenever I compare the 12 and 48 megapixel photo, I prefer at night the 12 megapixel RAW photo. After all the corrections, removing the vignetting, this photo looks sharper, crisper, less noise, which results in better details overall, because if you are really pixel peeping these two shots, you will see that details are slightly sharper at 48 megapixel. But the noise is so bad that whenever you are reducing it slightly, details are dropping much lower. By the way, especially for you, I'll attach the links for these photos right there below. Besides that, with the recent firmware update, we received some life-improving changes in the video department. First of all, that everyone are talking about that right now the focus tracking is working in the vertical shots as well. But in this particular video, I would like to speak more about the video quality. One of the most important things that were bothering me until now, that even though DJI claimed that they provided a 10-bit Disney-like color profile, it looked more like 8-bit, but flatter in fact. I could see clearly the color bending at the gradients, especially at the sky. And it wasn't really that flexible in the post-processing. As soon as you were going a little bit extra, you could see some ugly colors popping up, and it was really strange to see in a 10-bit color depth. That was really frustrating, and I was thinking of sending my DJI Mini 3 Pro back to DJI, but I knew that DJI are going to come up with something to fix it, and they did. Now the 10-bit Disney-like looks exactly like a 10-bit. And another thing that was bothering me previously, that I noticed some weird flickering on my videos, and it was bothering me especially much because I took this drone for the professional shooting for the real estate. And when I was shooting at the moment at the remote control, I saw that footage looked really amazing. I was really happy with it, but when I came back home and I checked the footage that I got, I was really shocked and I was disappointed up to the level that I wasn't sure if I can use it for the video. I had to spend actually so much time to make this footage look good, and at the end of the day I wasn't really happy and proud about what I got. Now after the latest firmware update, it's much more pleasant experience to work with the footage. Okay, let's quickly speak about the FullHD 120 FPS. It's not that bad. You can sometimes throw it into your videos, and if it's gonna be like 2-3 second shot, it's not gonna be really noticeable. It will give this extra oof effect that the viewer will see that you are shooting with some cool machine, with a cool drone which is able of the slow motion and all this stuff, yada yada, but it's actually not that great. And in a case if you can stick with a 4K 50 or 60 FPS, better do that because it looks really amazing. Now let's talk about the night shots. DJI Mini 3 Pro has 1/1.3 inch sensor and aperture 1.7, which is really good enough to provide more light into your sensor. It helps to get decent results, especially when it comes to photos. Considering that in photos you can adjust your shutter speed to a longer periods, you can capture some really juicy and almost noiseless images. I took both of these shots with a shutter speed 1/5 with the ISO 400. So yet again, for the night shots, I would prefer 12 megapixel unless you're going to zoom in 300% and you really need this extra little bit of sharpness. When it comes to video, things get a little bit more complicated because you cannot drop your shutter speed below of some numbers. The number that you can pick up for the shutter speed will be equal to your frame rate. Let's say if you're shooting 25 FPS, the shutter speed that you can put the lowest is 1/25. But of course, in this case, the drone movement should be really slow and smooth because otherwise you'll get a blurry footage. So you'll have to keep your ISO at a higher levels to provide better exposure, which will cause more noise in your video. Another point which is worth highlighting, you cannot shoot at night in a normal color mode because it's absolutely unusable. For some reasons, it just crashes shadows in the complete blacks. That's why if you are shooting after the sunset, you'll have to use a Disney-like profile. Before the recent firmware update, if you are shooting 25 FPS 4K HQ mode, you could see that there is some weird color fringing around the bright parts of the video. You can see similar results whenever you play too much with HDR. And basically HQ is HDR at some point because it extends slightly a dynamic range of your image, and it didn't do quite well during the night shots. However, right now it looks quite decent. And these are really some great news, because whenever you shoot at night, 25 FPS looks much better than 50 FPS. Both of these videos were shot at ISO 800 and shutter speed 1/50, and we can clearly see that 25 FPS footage looks more pleasing due to the finer noise, which doesn't look too destructive as on 50 FPS footage. On the next footage, I lowered ISO to 400 while slowing shutter speed to 1/25. We can clearly see how much better it looks. So if you are going to shoot night shots here and there, try to capture less sky in the shot and your footage will look good enough. But yet again, I would like to remind you that sensor size in DJI Mini 3 Pro isn't big enough, so you cannot really compare the video quality at night with the Mavic 3 or even DJI Air 2S. So, what do you think about the image quality from DJI Mini 3 Pro? Does it look really professional? You can use it in professional work, or it's only more for the personal travel videos? Share your thoughts in the comment sections below. Also, let me know what should be the next topic that we should discuss in the next video. Don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe and smash this bell button. I'll really appreciate it. Until next time, see ya!